Hello and welcome to Spotlight on the Arts. I'm Michelle Solomon and I will be your hostess today. Today we're expanding our vista a little bit. Usually all of our guests are involved strictly in the performing arts, but today we're venturing into arts education. But before that, let's meet our panel for today. Bill Hirschman is an arts journalist and founder of FloridaTheaterOnStage.com. Andy Rogo is the artistic director for Island City Stage and a director and actor as well. And Carol Cassie is the owner and operator of Carol Cassie Theatrical Marketing and Public Relations. Today our special guest is Mindy Shrago, who is the founder of Young at Art Museum. Welcome, Mindy.
Thank you for having me.
Well, before we barrage you with a bunch of questions, let's take a look at this short video clip.
Young at Art is a community town square, a place where families can gather, where children can build a sense of identity through art, architecture, history, and culture, where artists can teach their aesthetics, where teachers can develop new art-integrated classroom skills, and where teens can understand the value of civic engagement.
It's a place that provides an environment to promote self-expression, emotional and intellectual skills, and also build their self-esteem.
That video does a great job of telling us about Young at Art, but we have a whole half hour for Mindy to tell us even more. So let's get started.
Okay. So I started the museum in 1989 in a 3,200 square foot storefront. I was an artist prior to that time, and I knew how important art paved the way for me to feel better about myself, to build my self-esteem, and so I wanted to share that with the world. So we started in, as I said, in the fountains, and moved to a second location, and now we're in the museum that you just saw the kids walking through. What's more important for me is to serve everybody in our community.
So when you first founded Young at Art, what did you feel was missing in the community? What void were you filling at the time?
So one of our first programs that was so important is to serve kids that are homeless, and we know how the kids can get lost in that art and that aesthetic. So I met with the school system, and we're for over 20-something years, we've been serving kids that are homeless that are going to Broward County schools, and they're getting their art program after school, and also their academics, their homework assistance. So that to me is really super important. We also are working with Pace Center for Girls, and we have a project runway where they design their own dresses and walk the runway. We have an amazing host every year that comes from the TV network. So those are the things that really keep me moving, keep me going.
So how is the museum? It sounds like there's a different mission about it or a different way about it, and you see empowerment. It sounds like there's a lot of empowerment.
Right.
And how does that kind of work in conjunction with the art?
That's the key. So we're also, we just most recently established a new collaboration with University of Miami Card, and it's the Center for Autism at UM and Nova Southeastern. So we are working with kids that have disabilities, that have autism, through adults. And so we have this Sensory Sunday where they can come in and make art. And that's where they get lost in the process and really start to feel good about themselves. And look what I did, even if it's something that's just the process. But look what I did. Look what I got to take home. Look what I get to be. Look what I get to be when I grow up, maybe.
Do you follow these kids? You know, I noticed they start in kindergarten. Do you follow them all the way up through the education system, or?
Not only are we following up through that piece, but we also have parents that come back with their kids that say that they were at Young at Art in the beginning. We serve about 140,000 kids a year coming in and out through field trips and so on and so forth. But that's the part that I love, because I love walking around the museum and talking to the parents to find out, what is it that you need? How much more do you want to see? But through the artist lens, they're able to meet artists, we have a whole schedule of artists that are from all over the county, and then some we bring in from out of town, and they teach kids. So you're meeting a real artist, and they're teaching kids and really getting that impact.
How has arts education changed in the county over the years? Is it better? Is it worse? Are elementary and junior high schools and high schools teaching art still? Are there programs?
Unfortunately, unfortunately, the arts have been really like killed. So we kind of put that piece together. So when we have our field trips, they're making art, but there are so many schools that do not have arts as an elective, and we're really trying to push that back into the system.
In what way? How are you trying to do that?
So there's a couple things that we're doing that are really fun. We have a Festival of the Arts where kids can make all their art, set up a booth, and keep all the profits. And they're learning about, you know, how to price something. They're learning about math. They're learning about really the selling of it as well, and the entrepreneurship that they can have later on. So we're actually celebrating our 30th anniversary at Young and Art Museum. And our Festival of the Arts will have 100 kids with booths, and they just love it. It's something really special.
But do you have a sense that school districts are in fact seriously cutting back on arts, and in what way? In other words, are there no longer arts classes? Is there just simply nothing there?
There are several elementary schools that we go, and we're there as the artists because they don't have art classes. So there's one school in particular that we visit all the time, and yes, they are losing it. Now, another thing that we're doing to really bring the arts into the school system is the Scholastics. We are the Broward County affiliate of Scholastics, and we receive about 1,000 admissions of artists that are they're really mainly high school kids, and we put up a show, and then through the top 3 get to have their work in like the Kennedy Center in New York City or things like that. So the high schools have more art than the elementary and middle because.
But if you weren't coming in, what, if any, art presence would there be in an elementary school?
Not much, probably nothing.
Okay.
And so you're providing this service for the schools, but yet state funding has gone way down for arts organizations. How has that affected Young at Art?
It's been pretty difficult. We've had to really push it. I'm on the board of the Florida Association of Museums, and so we do that. We walk the halls and really try to get those folks, the senators and state reps, to serve, to help, to push. And our group with Florida Association of Museums we do a lot of lobbying. It's difficult. And we're hoping that it's going to turn around.
How has modern technology, like how have you incorporated that?
Huge. So, we have a digital art studio. Kids are learning how to make films over the summer, and these are kids. These are, 5th graders, and they can make their own films. They can do it, and then we bring in artists that are filmmakers, and so it's pretty open, and now I think the kids come to the museum at 5 years old with their little iPads, and they know probably a little bit more than I do about it because they've grown up in that in that situation. So it's important for them to do the digital piece as well.
And do you think that helps? Being kind of this Renaissance woman of like the old art school days.
We're so different now.
Do you think that is helping?
Absolutely.
It gives them a broader vista?
Yeah, absolutely. We have a film festival we do with the kids. We have so many programs that tie into that piece, into the technology.
Mm-hmm.
But is there an overall vision that arts education has taken in the last 10, 20 years that wasn't there when we were going to art classes and making finger painting pies? Is there a whole other way of you are looking at it than they looked at it 20 years ago?
I think that contemporary art has helped push that, and when the kids are looking at specific pieces of art that are from the past, they're doing that as well, where we have a program, we'll bring in like Leonardo da Vinci, do your own style of Leonardo da Vinci, but yet we're looking at how we live our lives today. So someone like Christo, for example, we have taught these kids all about Christo and how he's used the islands as his canvas. So the kids are doing their own kinds of work like that. So I think it's just growing even stronger, and collaboration with you're talking about theater, but there's performance art piece where the kids are doing as well that ties into the aesthetic.
So if I bring some kids with me to the museum for the first time, what's going to be my experience there? What's going to be their experience when they come to the museum?
If you bring a couple kids in there, the one piece that is really sad is they start crying when they leave. And it's like, just even the other day I saw, yeah. But in any event, it's so overload, but not. There's 5 exhibit galleries. We have one that is for 6 and under, and each of the exhibit galleries has been thought through the eyes of an artist. So there are 60 different artists that are woven into the aesthetic of all of the exhibits. And it teaches them how to really, when I grow up, maybe I can do this kind of a thing. But we also have a subway car and all about New York City, and the artists, Keith Haring and all those different artists are showcased in that. There's videos going on all the time. There's some really well-known, really coming up artists that have one artist, Jillian Mayer. She's running on literally on a screensaver, and she's never getting anywhere. So we're teaching kids about just thinking outside the box.
So what about teenagers? Because they're sometimes tough to engage. So do you have programs that...
We do. First of all, we have a teen volunteer program. We have over 500 teens now that are getting community service hours, and they also have a teen center so that they can be there by themselves. But they also have evening activities together with their group, and they volunteer in all of the classes, especially during the summer. And they all have their friends that they meet during lunch and such, and that's really important. But the scholastic piece is also important. So we have teen classes now, we have adult classes, and we have ceramics. You can go in and make ceramics on the wheel for an evening and that kind of thing. So we're really broadening who we are. We've taken the word children's off of the museum, and it's Young at Art Museum, because we're really serving everyone.
I wanted to ask you about museum, because I think of museums as like having collections. So does Young at Art have a collection? What is it that makes Young at Art a museum and not like an art center?
Because you're in the art. So there's, as I said, there's 5 different galleries. We have this Kenny Scharf closet, for example. He's an amazing, super well-known artist, and way back when he would go into the city and pick up things and put it in a closet and say, well, I want to make this. Now we have a blacklight closet of Kenny Scharf's work, so that the kids can really bond with the artist just by looking, and also the daughter did the video, so they can be part of that, part of the whole piece. We have a changing exhibit gallery. One of the things that we're always using artists now much more specifically within the exhibits. So our next exhibit is called Artcade, and it's all arcade games, but layered by the artist's vision. So they're wrapping those, or they're making, or the artist is helping to make them. And so that's our next exhibit, that's our traveling exhibit gallery space.
Sorry, I was going to ask, do you focus a lot on local artists, on Florida artists, or do you go outside the state?
We have gone outside the state. We focus mostly on local artists. We have a new exhibit that was done by Jen Clay, and it's incredibly gorgeous. But we have gone to New York City and brought in different artists to do other pieces, but not as often. I would just say maybe like 5%.
What's the hardest part that people outside what you're doing don't get? What is it that you do that's really difficult and most challenging?
I think once they get there, they get there. They get it. Is that what you're saying? To coming
No,
in?
your job. What is it? you're part of your being an administrator of an arts operation.
Okay.
What is the most difficult part that you sit there and go, I wish people realized it also involves this?
It also involves raising money. So that's the part that's always a challenge. We're always looking to raise money, and our budget is high, so we always have to raise more money. But everything is really coming together.
Well, the bulk of your money comes from grants, patrons. We haven't even talked about this. Do you charge these kids admission, or their parents admission, or is this coming from the school district, or where?
Oh no, we
Where's
are a
your money
private
coming from?
nonprofit, and we have a membership program. So the kids are coming in on memberships. They're coming in daily, daily admission cost. We have a gift shop we sell. We have camps and classes, and all of those programs are part of our earned income lines.
Right.
And then our fundraising, we receive grants, state. As we said, the state is not. The county is really like pushing now to build that constituency, and then donors.
Mindy, do you still have the preschool?
Yes, so we have a preschool. We have 37 kids, and they're adorable. And
And there would be a charge for.
there's a
so
fee.
that
Now they
goes
do
in.
get, there is some subsidy where they're able to pay through VPK. But we love bringing the rising up the creative class.
Tell our audience where they can find you and everything. I know we'll go back to it again, but just we've been talking so much about it, where you're located.
So
and-
we're Flamingo Road and 595 on the east side, and you'll see a giant white building. And we are looking to do a whole mural in the outside.
And is
of it,
that's in
that'll be
Davie?
nice, in the town of Davie.
And you started in
We're
a,
55,000 square feet.
and you started in like a storefront, as I remember it, in Plantation.
In Plantation, started in a storefront, and our first exhibit was Christo for kids. And the kids they had a giant kind of architectural three-dimensional piece where they were like wrapping the islands and such. That was our first exhibit, and I actually called Christo. At that time, he wasn't who he is now.
It wasn't Christo.
But I called him and asked him if he would send us signed posters, and he sent us posters that we had all throughout the space. So yeah, that was our first.
Tell us a little about you. And you said you started as an artist. How did
So-
you get into it? And what kind of art did you
I was
produce?
an art major in
Yeah.
school, and when I graduated, I had a little studio in the back of my house, and I was lucky enough to be picked up by Gloria Luria Gallery in King Concourse when she was very well known, and I made work in my house, and I sold it and I put it in, I had one-person shows there and such, and many people from Miami, the Shacks, the Wolfson, and so on and so forth have my work. And I loved getting into that process, and that's why I love seeing the kids getting into it too. But today I'm still making art, and I'm going to be in a small show in Wynwood, but I don't have that much time.
You mentioned that you saw a lack of arts
Funding,
and
yeah.
funding, whatever. But was there one particular moment where you thought to yourself, okay, I've got to do something about this? Was there something that sparked it?
Yes, well, as part of the Florida Association of Museums, we would go and practically beg these people. And what was really interesting is there were several of our state reps that we brought the art from Art Reach, from the kids that were homeless, and they wanted to hang them in the offices. So we had people that really cared and know how important the arts are. But it's still a matter of lobbying and really trying to make it happen. But we're doing everything we can, and we just put in a new playground outside by one of our donors, and they're starting to add more stuff.
I think
The
you should
real
send
stuff.
those 37 adorable children
Yeah.
up to Tallahassee and say, look,
Well, what we have done is we have brought several of the politicians down to work with the kids and read stories to them. So that kind of helps tie that in.
yeah.
I love anecdotes. Is there a particular, I'm sure you probably have 17, but is there a particular incident you remember that you said, this is why I'm doing it? You saw something that happened.
Every day.
Pick one out and tell a story about something that happened that you go, yeah, that's what it's all about. I'm glad I was here. I'm glad we did this.
Well, one piece is when I'm there on Sunday and I see these kids that really need to get lost in that art that have autism, and I'm like, because I know that we've really like pushed it past that. So that's one, and then two, when I walk into a classroom during the summer and I see these kids, they just like flip me out. They're
In what
just
way?
so calm.
Give me an example.
It's my heart. It's who I am. It's my heart. It's just like it is. I'll cry if I see it.
That's good. You can do that now if you like.
No, but that's the part that's so engaging, is when you really see that. And I think when we first started working with the kids that are homeless, and you can see the difference when they're so proud of what they do, or when I'll give you one really funny instance. When I was last year in the Festival of the Arts, there was a little 3-year-old girl with her mom, and she had a Fisher-Price cash register. And I bought one of her pieces for $3, and I gave it to her. She goes, "No, you have to put it into the cash register." And it's like, so they're learning about how engaging in the arts and how they can maybe get there when they grow up, or at least care about it.
Do you feel like being in Davie, I don't want to, I think of you as South Florida, but Davie's I don't know, I think it's an unusual place.
So when we first opened up, when we first moved to that physical space, we were in right next to that area, and we wanted to be where the kids were. So I think that was the main vision from the beginning and we worked with several people, with the architect, and we had just a lot of different people that came together, that we talked about how we were going to make the exhibit. So we brought everybody that was involved with the environment in the county, or people and we had a symposium with them. And how do you think that we should be changing the way kids think through environment, or how do we think? We're Gold LEED certified, it's really important. So that's kind of the way that.
So people can become members. I mean, use this forum to tell people how to become members,
Okay.
your website.
So you can go to our website, youngatartmuseum.org. When you have a membership, you can come in anytime you want with 2 adults and 4 kids. We have several different levels, but we also have this year, because it is our 30th year, you get an extra 30 days. So that really helps as well. But we're just all proud of the 30th year and how far we've come, and how when we see the parents that come back that, oh yeah, I took Miss So-and-so's class 20 years ago. But we like being out west.
Yeah.
Because we're near all of those constituents that come to visit us, and we are very, you can see us from the highway.
Oh.
Do you see any difference in children from 30 years ago to now in the way they engage in the art?
Yes, because
And what is that
it's
difference?
all technology at this point.
Wow.
Not all. That's why we want them to do everything else. But I think they're smarter.
Really?
I think that they, I think they're smarter, and I think that the technology piece is so.
Do you
so
find
different.
that they are not as engaged for as long a time? In other words, sometimes these kids, 1 minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, will they engage for half an hour in a class?
Oh, more so. More so, yeah. I mean, it depends upon. I mean, at Young and Art they do.
Yeah.
Because we just get them so jazzed up. But I'm sure that they'll take their mother's phone and start playing with it, and they can be that way. But they cry when the parents are telling them they want to leave. So that's the perfect antidote to that.
So how many clients did you tell us how many clients go through those doors a year?
About 140.
140.
And do you have outreach?
We do that's where we serve our programs in the homeless program, but we also outreach into the school system. So some of those schools do not want to have their kids come out, so we have an outreach program where they're doing art in the classroom. They don't have art.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you find resistance sometimes from educators who say, no, we don't have time for art when we have to, pass a test or something?
No, I mean, not for us, because we're going to the ones that call us and say we want to do a field trip. Today we had 145 kids right before I left that I couldn't even walk into the spaces. Then they're on field trips coming into the museum.
So tell us what the 5-year plan is real quick.
The 5-year plan.
Where do you see Young at Art and its beautiful future?
I see us just doing more of everything that we can do, and also lobbying for arts for every organization, including us. But that's the piece that's so important, is that we need support from government, we need support from those that really care and work on making that happen.
Well, thank you so much. Before we wrap up for today, I really want to thank you, our special guest, Mindy Shrago, and our panelists for today. Spotlight on the Arts is a community program, so if you have any suggestions, we would love to hear them. And you can email us at spotlightonthearts@browardschools.com. And please check out our favorite websites to see what's going on all over South Florida. Those websites are floridatheateronstage.com and miamiartzine.com. Now, we usually end our show by saying, as Iris Acker, the producer and original founder of this, would say, go to the theater. But today we're going to change that for Mindy a little, and we're going to say, go to the museum. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.